can support weight loss by helping regulate appetite and blood sugar, but results vary. Success still depends on consistency, lifestyle habits, and medical appropriateness. If you're one of the people who are interested in GLP-1s but don't know where to start, IVRX simplifies the process by offering online intake and evaluation, licensed provider review, ongoing care and check-ins, and, if it's the right fit for you, medication shipped to your home. IVRX emphasizes medical oversight, education, and realistic expectations rather than hype or shortcuts. The goal is not transformation narratives, but sustainable, well-supported health decisions. To get started with IVRX, use our link at enroll.ivrx.com/rockstars and get up to an additional $100 off your first order on 1, 3, and 6-month plans with code ROCKSTARS at checkout. So after saying all that, here I'm now going to get into some book spoilers for people who have read the book and know what happens. If you haven't read the book and you want to go into the movie one, feel free to stop watching the video here. Okay, let's talk about Rocky. Book readers learn that Rocky is an iridium from Arid, the name Ryland gives to Rocky's world. Yeah, part of the fun of the book is the way Ryland and Rocky gradually learn to communicate and make their terms for each other's things, from Ryland's vocal English and Rocky's semi-musical chimes released from somewhere within his 5-armed neural body with no face, described as being the size of a Labrador. While Rocky's existence is a fun twist and reveal in the book, the success the film team clearly achieved with the design and the puppeteering of Rocky deserves to be a selling point for moviegoers who probably are not going to read this book before seeing the film. Like, come on, we didn't know what Horcruxes were going to be before we read the 6th Harry Potter book, but was it really that big a deal in the marketing for the 6th Harry Potter movie when it started talking about cursed objects that held pieces of Voldemort's soul? No, it's okay. Filmgoers need to know more about going to see a movie than more patient book readers need before cracking open a book. Rocky was built and designed by Neil Scanlon, the special effects and visual effects guru who worked on the latter Star Wars titles, and he and his team are really the only reason Babu Frick was this fun. Rocky in the film is mostly a practical effect performed by James Ortiz and his team of puppeteers. James Ortiz also does the voice of Rocky that Ryland selects from his computer translator.
With about 250 words, let's find you a voice.
Why is a school teacher in space?
Nope.
Why is a switchy job in space?
Sure is.
I am Rocky.
I love the fact that they didn't go for like an iconic voice actor to do this part. Like, you can imagine a not as great version of this movie that just gave the gig to Alan Tudyk. And I think the film version really needs the right voice, because you really cannot have a face or eyes in order to be true to the spirit of Rocky in the book, who really communicates physically through like shrugs and like shimmies and hand gestures, things that it mimics from Ryland in this adorable way that we just start to internalize the more time we spend with him. Andy Weir's novel depicts Rocky's speech as initially just some musical notes that turn into italicized text as Ryland translating it through his computer, and then gradually Ryland just recognizes the musical chimes alone without needing his computer. And then whenever Rocky uses a term that Ryland's translator doesn't recognize, either when it represents a concept that doesn't exist for Earth humans or it's some kind of insult Rocky doesn't want to describe, it just kind of stays a musical note. And really, interactions like these are the funniest and sweetest part of reading the novel. And it's clear that the film figured out a way to preserve that relationship cinematically. And I love how they kept the musical chord sound of his speech while making it also sound like a purr or a growl.
Check this out.
Yeah, just in that moment, you can hear the 3 notes forming an actual musical chord. Another critical visual element from the book that I'm impressed with the execution of the film, xenonite. So xenonite is the solid form of the noble gas xenon that Rocky's species has figured out a way to construct everything out of on his ship that ends up being both a miracle substance throughout the plot and a crucial element in the endgame of the story. Rocky's bubble that he moves around in within the Hail Mary ship is made out of a transparent version of xenonite. And while reading Project Hail Mary, you kind of get the concern that something so bulky and rigid that needs to be able to provide the safety barrier between Ryland's lower temperature, lower pressure environment and Rocky's super hot, high pressure environment would just be too difficult to show on film. But you can tell from the trailers that they just did a great job shooting through the transparent xenonite to make Ryan Gosling and the Rocky puppet kind of look like they're cuddling up with each other. They really nailed the intimacy that grows between the characters. So that really gives us hope for all the sciencey elements that seem too textbook or film as you read them in the book, including all the descriptions of the spool cable design of the centrifuge and spin drives that form the detachable structure of the Hail Mary spacecraft, and the xenonite structure of Rocky's Blip A ship, the cellular structure of Astrophage, the atmosphere of the planet Adrian, and the biology of its Taumiba, as Ryland names it. Andy Weir's success as a storyteller is just trusting the audience to understand enough of the science to work through these problems along with the scientist characters, and that process builds enough mystery and suspense to propel the narrative. And I usually end these videos with a numerical score, so let's do it for this movie! 9.5 out of 10. I mean, it's just really that good. It's definitely worth your money and your time to see this on the largest screen you can find, and most importantly, with someone that you love. Comment down below on what you're most looking forward to from this movie, and if you're watching this video after having seen the movie yourself, what were your thoughts? Just try to be careful in the comments, spoiling too many of the big twists for the people who haven't seen it yet. And a special thanks to one of our In Our Underground subscribers, Frederick Price, for supporting us at the executive producer level. You can get all of our exclusive bonus content by clicking the link in the description below or going to inourunderground.supercast.com. That includes a recording of our live show that we did at the UCB Theater in January of the leaked and perhaps bogus Avengers King Dynasty screenplay. We're going to actually be doing another live show on April 17th where we'll do a live stage reading of Morbius. Links to tickets for the live show or for the remote viewing option are in the description below. Big thanks to Studio Tech Brian King, New Rockstars editors Joshua Stephen Bird and Abby Friel, and all the supporting editors for their work on this video. You can follow me at EA Boss and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
How different would this movie have been if Rocky was 100% CGI and not a puppet in such?
It's like I can't imagine, honestly, though. It fed the whole movie. Because the relationship between Rocky and is the heart of the movie, and because it's so difficult for them to just communicate and to be in the same room and let alone solve the galaxy's problems together. You know, it was so difficult to shoot with Rocky as a practical element in this movie. Oh my god, it was just like so much easier to do it CGI. But because it was so challenging, we were constantly finding ourselves, I think, in this, like, it was mirroring the story. It was like, how do we get into the same room? How do we communicate? He has 6 puppeteers called the Rocketeers. They're all dressed like ninjas. They're trying to hide. We can see them. It was just one problem after another, but that's the story. And then, of course, James Ortiz, who's the voice of Rocky. Finding Rocky a voice is such a big part of the story.
I mean, you listened to the book, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray Porter did
Amazing.
an amazing job. But James, was not initially supposed to be the voice of Rocky, so he understood Rocky so deeply that he became Rocky. So then Rocky did find a voice through James. So it just fed into the film, and that's why the film, I think, feels so like immediate and alive, even though it's so epic in scale. It feels very intimate and practical because all of those things are actually happening in some way.
Another question that I have is this is not your first foray as an astronaut. I remember being in Florida at another rocket center with you, with First Man. What did you learn this time about space that you may not have learned the first time when you were actually Neil Armstrong?
Well, in this, it was comforting because I didn't have to seem competent or I didn't have to be good at space. I could be bad at space. And, all the zero-G stuff, which is very hard to sell credibly. The physics of it are just so different that it's hard to make it seem real. In this, I could be inelegant, bad at space, be terrible at it, make it chaotic, as I think I naturally would be. So it was so much